While the series finale was easily my least favourite episode of the season, I don't hate it as much as other people seem to have. If anything, it pretty much met my expectations going in, for two particular reasons. One, a lot of its mistakes are pretty cliche for most modern Doctor Who finales, from the reset button ending to the very blasé attitude about the reveal of the mystery box and how it doesn't really matter. And the other thing, putting aside the other seasons and judging it on its own merits, I feel that this brand new era hasn't finished cooking yet in any capacity. I feel like it would have worked much better had we saved this for maybe season 4, by which point we know the 15th Doctor, Ruby, and the brand new unit team a lot more. Like, imagine if Harriet was an established character, revealing she was a Harbinger all along would have been a bit more shocking in my opinion. Especially because if Sutekh is supposed to be the ultimate villain, why on earth are we fighting him and winning in season 1, especially if Russell wants to do at least 4 and a second was guaranteed. More of the ongoing mystery boxes and story arcs should have been spread more across the era rather than trying to get it all done in season 1. It's a shame because I can see a good story in there, but too many corners were cut to try and get it done so quickly. For example, I buy that Ruby wants to find her parents to get answers to why she was abandoned, but I don't buy why she necessarily wants a relationship with her birth parents. And pretty much all the answers we get are the right ones in my opinion. Sutekh being the one who waits, Ruby's parents being ordinary, that's all fine, but skipping the reason why we should care about these mysteries in the first place, like, I have no investment in seeing Susan again, so you should really take the time to establish why we should get invested. If up to me, I would have saved these two stories for a later season, and maybe have something like The Devil's Cord be the season 1 finale. It's a little more light-hearted, but it does lay the groundwork for more darker stories to come, and better foreshadows the shake-up of Doctor Who having more fantastical storytelling. But to be fair, given some time to reflect on it, there are definitely moments that I really like, which work in a vacuum but don't really add up to a whole great story. I enjoy the scene with the Doctor and the kind woman to help flesh out the dead Sutekh timeline, even if that whole destroy the entire universe thing was kind of pointless. And I also think Mel works really well. There's a nice little callback to Big Finish with her knowing the Daleks, and also I appreciate when they show the alternative versions of Susan Triad, they acknowledge some off-screen adventures as well as the ones we've seen. I always appreciate when Doctor Who remembers that the TV show isn't the only part of the franchise. And also, something that I've never really noticed in many finales before is that we actually have the Doctor and Ruby pretty much working together for the entire story and actually work together to defeat Sutekh, as silly as it was. Usually they get separated, the Doctor and Companion, and one of them has to step up in the third act, so this was a nice refreshing change. And I admire the restraint in not having David Tennant hijack the episode and have a forced cameo or noble sacrifice. We don't need to see his Doctor again, in my opinion. Overall, an almost great story, but one that was ruined by tradition, and I hope people are starting to recognise that as good as Russell's original era is, it did have its flaws, and if we don't move away from that era, Doctor Who has no chance of evolving and carving a new identity.